The dying planet of Kepler 442b hung like a wounded jewel against the black canvas of space. Its once blue oceans had turned the color of rust, and massive storms churned across continents that were slowly cracking apart. In the depths of space, automated distress beacons had been screaming into the void for 3 standard years. Commander Zara Velthan pressed her scaled palm against the observation deck's reinforced glass. Her violet eyes reflected the planet's death throes as she watched another continent split apart, sending massive chunks of rock tumbling into the toxic atmosphere. "The seismic readings are getting worse," reported Lieutenant Kex from behind her. His forearms worked frantically across multiple control panels, each limb moving with practiced precision. "We've got maybe 6 hours before the planetary core completely destabilizes." Zara's species, the Veltar, had survived for millennia by being cautious. They never took unnecessary risks. They calculated every move. But today, caution meant watching. 50 million civilians die. "Any response to our distress calls?" she asked, though she already knew the answer. "Nothing from the Galactic Council," Kex replied, his voice heavy with defeat. "The Andromedan Empire says they're too busy with border conflicts. The Silicon Confederation claims they don't have ships in this sector." Zara's claws scraped against the glass. 50 million people. Men, women, children, all different species, who had made this planet their home. The mining operations had seemed safe at first. Extract the rare minerals, build a thriving colony. Everyone profits. No one had predicted that the extraction would destabilize the entire planetary core. "Commander?" A new voice crackled through the comm system. It was Dr. Elena Vasquez, the human xenogeologist who had first discovered the core instability. "I'm picking up something strange on the long-range sensors." Zara turned from the window. Humans were relatively new to the galactic community. Barely. 2 centuries since first contact. Most species still considered them primitive, unpredictable, but Elena had proven herself brilliant, and her warnings about the planetary core had been correct from the beginning. "What kind of strange, Doctor?" "Multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace at the edge of the system. Big ones. Really big." Kex's 4 arms froze over his controls. "Impossible. We didn't send any more distress calls beyond the local sector. Who could—" "Commander!" Elena's voice was sharp with excitement and confusion. "You need to see this. The lead ship, it's massive, easily 10 kilometers long. And Commander, they're broadcasting on all frequencies in perfect galactic standard." Zara felt her heart rate spike. Ships that large meant either salvation or conquest. In her experience, the two were often indistinguishable. "Put it through." The communication came through crystal clear, spoken in a calm, professional tone that somehow managed to sound both reassuring and terrifying. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Terran Defense Fleet, responding to your distress call. We are en route to provide immediate humanitarian assistance. Prepare for rapid evacuation procedures. Be advised, we do not negotiate with planetary emergencies." Silence filled the command center. Zara stared at the communication panel as if it had just, spoken in an ancient dead language. "Terran Defense Fleet?" Kex whispered. "But Earth barely has faster-than-light capability. Their fleet is supposed to be tiny. A few patrol ships, maybe some cargo vessels." Elena's voice came through the comm again, and this time she sounded genuinely frightened. "Commander, you need to look at these readings. I count 37 ships. 7 of them are larger than anything in the Galactic Council database. And they're moving fast. Really fast." Zara activated the main view screen. What she saw made her breath catch in her throat. The human fleet moved through space like a school of metallic predators. The ships were angular, aggressive-looking, painted in stark white and blue. They didn't glide through space like most vessels. They cut through it, leaving ripples in the fabric of space-time itself. "How long until they reach us?" Zara asked. "At their current speed." Kex ran the calculations twice, then 3 times. 14 minutes. "Commander, that's impossible. Nothing moves that fast without tearing itself apart." The communication crackled again. Admiral Chen's voice remained calm, but there was something underneath it now. A current of barely controlled power. Kepler 442b Evacuation Command. This is Admiral Chen. We're going to need you to move your ships away from the planet immediately. We're bringing some heavy equipment for the evacuation, and we don't want any accidents. Heavy equipment? Zara activated her own communication array. Admiral Chen, this is Commander Velthan of the rescue coordination effort. What kind of heavy equipment are you referring to? A pause. Then, the kind that makes sure everyone gets out alive, Commander. Trust me, you want to give us some room to work. Zara looked at Kex, whose forearms were trembling slightly as he monitored the approaching fleet. Commander, he whispered. They're energy signatures. I've never seen anything like this. These aren't rescue ships, these are warships, military grade, and they're carrying enough firepower to glass a moon. Through the view screen, Zara could see the lead ship more clearly. Now, it was beautiful in the way that apex predators are beautiful, perfectly designed for its purpose, every line and angle optimized for maximum efficiency. Weapons ports ran along its hull like dark eyes, and strange energy patterns danced across its surface. Dr. Vasquez, Zara called through the comm. What's the status on the planetary evacuation? We've got maybe 3,000 people off-world so far. At our current rate, we'll evacuate maybe 10,000 before the core goes critical. Commander, we need a miracle. Zara stared at the approaching human fleet. Something deep in her evolutionary memory was screaming warnings. The same instincts that had kept her species alive for millennia were telling her to run. But 50 million people were counting on her. Admiral Chen, she broadcast. How do you propose to evacuate 50 million people in 6 hours with 37 ships? Another pause. When the human admiral's voice came back, there was something that might have been amusement in it. Commander Velthan, I think you might be underestimating what humans do when we put our minds to something. Stand by. You're about to see why. We don't negotiate with planetary emergencies. The human fleet was close enough now that Zara could see individual details on the ships. Massive cargo bays were opening along their hulls. Strange crystalline structures were emerging from hidden compartments. And from the largest ship, something was detaching, something that looked like a small moon. Commander, Kex's voice was barely a whisper. That object they just deployed, it's generating its own gravity field. It's artificial, but the field strength is equivalent to a small planet. Zara felt her world tilt on its axis. She had called for rescue ships. What had arrived was a fleet that could remake reality itself. The communication system crackled one more time. Admiral Chen's voice now carried an undertone of controlled excitement. All evacuation vessels, clear the operational area immediately. We're about to demonstrate why humanity earned its seat at the Galactic table. Kepler 442b inhabitants, this is your official notice. Pack light, stay calm, and prepare for immediate relocation. We're not just evacuating your planet, we're taking it with us. As Zara watched in stunned silence, the human fleet began to arrange itself in a complex formation around the dying planet. Energy patterns she didn't recognize began to dance between the ships. The artificial gravity field grew stronger, more stable, and from deep within the planet's crust, the seismic readings began to change. The humans hadn't come to evacuate a planet. They had come to steal one. Chapter 2. The impossible solution. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the TNS Indomitable, her hands clasped behind her back as she watched her fleet take position around Kepler 442b. At 45, she had the lean build and steady gaze of someone who had spent her entire adult life in space. Her black hair was streaked with premature silver, a common side effect of extended exposure to hyperspace radiation, and her dark eyes held the kind of calm confidence that came from successfully completing 17 impossible missions. Status. Report, Commander Park, she said without turning from the main view screen. Commander James Park, her second-in-command, consulted his holographic displays. All ships are in position. The gravity anchors are deployed and synchronizing. Engineering. Reports the planetary stabilization matrix is at 60% charge and climbing. Time to critical core failure? 5 hours, 37 minutes, Admiral. Local evacuation efforts have managed to get about 4,000 people off-world so far. Sarah nodded. 4,000 out of 50 million. The Galactic Council's response to this crisis had been pathetically inadequate, but that wasn't surprising. Most galactic civilizations had learned to be cautious over millions of years of evolution. They calculated risks, formed committees, debated endlessly about the best course of action. Humans had learned something different during their brief but violent history. Sometimes the only way to win was to attempt the impossible. Communication from the local evacuation commander, reported Lieutenant Torres from the communication station. Commander Velthan is requesting clarification on our intended rescue procedures. Sarah smiled. She could imagine what the other species were thinking right now. Humans were supposed to be the newcomers, the primitives who had barely mastered faster-than-light travel. Earth's official fleet consisted of a few dozen patrol ships and some cargo vessels. What the galactic community didn't know was that humanity had never been particularly interested in following official protocols. "Put Commander Velthan through," Sarah ordered. The Veltar commander appeared on the main screen, her violet eyes wide with a mixture of hope and terror. Behind her, Sarah could see other crew members from various species, all staring at the communication screen with the same expression. "Admiral Chen," Commander Velthan began, her scaled hands visibly trembling. "I need to understand what you mean when you say you're taking the planet with us. The core is destabilizing. In 5 hours, Kepler 442b will tear itself apart, not..." "If we get there first," Sarah replied calmly. "Commander, what do you know about humanity's industrial capabilities?" The question seemed to catch Velthan off guard. Your species has impressive manufacturing capacity for such a young civilization. But Admiral, we're talking about a planet. A whole planet with 50 million inhabitants." Sarah turned to her tactical officer. "Commander Hayes, bring up the industrial summary." A holographic display materialized between Sarah and the communication screen, showing a detailed breakdown of human space-based infrastructure. Commander Velthan's eyes grew wider as she processed the information. 17 major orbital shipyards, Sarah narrated. 43 asteroid mining operations. 12 artificial worlds under construction. 6 Dyson sphere components operational. And most importantly for today's operation, the Titan Forge. "The what?" Velthan whispered. "A mobile construction platform roughly the size of Earth's moon. We built it specifically for large-scale stellar engineering projects. It's currently stationed in this system's outer asteroid belt, along with the rest of Battle Group Titan." The communication channel was silent for several seconds. Finally, Commander Velthan found her voice. "Admiral, are you telling me that this rescue operation is just one part of a larger fleet?" "Commander, when Earth received your distress call, we didn't send a rescue mission. We sent an engineering project. The Titan Forge has been manufacturing planetary stabilization equipment for the past 72 hours. What you're seeing here is just the installation crew." Behind Commander Velthan, Sarah could hear excited chatter in several different languages. The Veltar commander held up a scaled hand for silence. "Admiral Chen, with all due respect, you're talking about stabilizing a planetary core that's already past the point of no return. Even if such technology existed, the energy requirements would be astronomical," Sarah finished. "Which is why we brought our own star." Sarah nodded to Commander Park, who activated another holographic display. This one showed the outer system, where a massive artificial construct was slowly moving into position. "A stellar collection array," Sarah explained. "We call it a starsucker. It's been harvesting energy from your system's primary star for the past 3 days. Right now, it's storing roughly the equivalent of a Type 2 civilization's entire annual power output." The silence on the communication channel stretched for nearly a minute. When Commander Velthan finally spoke, her voice was barely audible. "How many ships are in this fleet?" Battle Group Titan consists of 147 vessels, ranging from Corvette-class engineering ships to the Titan Forge itself. However, for this operation, we're only using about half of them. Sarah could see other figures moving. Behind Commander Velthan, other species rescue coordinators who had been listening to the conversation. A tall, crystalline being that Sarah recognized as a Silicon Confederation diplomat stepped into view. "Admiral Chen," the crystalline being said, its voice creating harmonic resonances that were translated by the communication system. "I am Resonance of Truth, diplomatic observer for the Confederation. I must ask, what is humanity's interest in this system? There are no strategic resources here, no territorial advantages." Sarah looked directly at the diplomat. 50 million people are about to die, Resonance of Truth. That's our interest. "But the cost," the diplomat continued, "the resources you're expending, the risk to your fleet. Surely there must be some ulterior motive." Sarah was quiet for a moment, then smiled, an expression that somehow managed to be both warm and slightly predatory. "Resonance of Truth, let me explain something about human psychology. We have a saying, 'Hold my beer and watch this.' It roughly translates to 'observe while I attempt something that seems impossible.' We've been saying it for thousands of years, and it's the reason we went from throwing rocks at each other to building artificial stars in less than 10 millennia." She gestured toward the view screen, where her fleet was continuing its complex dance around the dying planet. "We're not doing this because it's profitable. We're not doing it because it's strategic. We're doing it because 50 million people sent out a distress call, and when humans hear someone calling for help, we show up. With overwhelming force, excessive firepower, and a complete disregard for the word impossible." Commander Park stepped forward. "Admiral, all systems are green. The Titan Forge is in position. We're ready to begin planetary extraction." Sarah nodded, then turned back to the communication screen. "Commander Velthan, I need you to coordinate with my people on evacuation procedures. We're going to stabilize your planet's core, but the process is going to involve some rather dramatic engineering. Anyone who wants to evacuate the traditional way is welcome to do so. Anyone who wants to stay and watch us steal a planet from physics itself is also welcome to stay." "Admiral," Commander Velthan said quietly, "why didn't humanity announce these capabilities to the galactic community? Fleet this advanced, technology this sophisticated. You could demand a permanent seat on the Galactic Council, trade agreements, territorial concessions." Sarah's smile became sharper. "Commander, we already have everything we need. The only thing we want is for people to stop dying when we can prevent it." She turned to her crew. "All stations, prepare for planetary extraction. Commander Park, signal the Titan Forge. Let's show the galaxy what humans do when someone needs help." As the communication ended, Sarah looked out at the dying planet. In a few hours, it would either be dead or it would be humanity's newest mobile world. Either way, 50 million people were going to wake up tomorrow morning, because when humans made a promise, they kept it, even if they had to steal a planet to do it. Chapter 3. When Gods Decide to Help Dr. Elena Vasquez had spent her entire career studying planetary geology, but nothing in her education had prepared her for what she was witnessing from the surface of Kepler 442b. The ground beneath the emergency evacuation site had stopped shaking for the first time in 3 days. The constant rumble of seismic activity that had become background noise to every conversation had simply stopped. Above her, the sky was filling with ships, not just the human fleet, though those vessels were impressive enough, but hundreds of smaller craft that seemed to be emerging from the larger ships like metallic insects from a hive. Each one moved with purpose, deploying equipment that Elena couldn't begin to identify. "Dr. Vasquez." The voice came from her communication device. Admiral Chen's calm, professional tone somehow carried clearly over the chaos of the evacuation site. "We're going to need you to coordinate with our geological team. We have some questions about your planet's internal structure." Elena activated her portable communication array. Around her, thousands of refugees from a dozen different species were watching the sky with expressions ranging from hope to terror. "Admiral, I'm not sure how much help I can be. The core destabilization is already—" "Dr. Vasquez," the Admiral interrupted gently, "please trust me when I say that core destabilization is a solvable problem. We're going to need you to guide our deep core insertion team." Elena looked up at the sky again. One of the larger human ships was directly overhead now, maybe 5 kilometers up. As she watched, it began to deploy what looked like a massive drill assembly. Admiral, are you planning to drill into the planet's core? Among other things, Dr. Vasquez, I'm sending down Commander Lisa Zhang, our chief geological engineer. She'll explain the process. Fair warning, it's going to sound impossible. 20 minutes later, Elena was standing next to a landing pad that had been constructed while she wasn't looking. The human engineering teams worked with an efficiency that bordered on the supernatural. They didn't seem to build things so much as will them into existence. The shuttle that landed was sleek, angular, and completely silent. When the airlock opened, a woman stepped out who looked to be in her 30s with short black hair, and the kind of practical, no-nonsense appearance that Elena associated with people who solved problems for a living. Dr. Vasquez. I'm Commander Zhang. I understand you've been tracking the core destabilization. Elena nodded, then handed over her portable data pad. The seismic readings have been getting worse for weeks. We estimate maybe 4 hours before complete planetary breakup. Commander Zhang glanced at the data, then smiled. Actually, it's closer to 6 hours now. Our gravity anchors are providing some stabilization. But you're right. Without intervention, this planet is going to tear itself apart. She gestured toward the sky, where the human ships were continuing their complex ballet. May I ask what you know about planetary engineering? The theoretical basis mostly. Some small-scale terraforming projects. But Commander, what you're talking about, stabilizing a core that's already destabilizing, that's not engineering. That's terraforming on a scale that, well, that shouldn't be possible. Commander Zhang's smile became wider. Dr. Vasquez, let me show you something. She activated a holographic projector, and suddenly Elena was looking at a 3-dimensional representation of Kepler 442b's internal structure. But this wasn't the planet as it existed now. This was the planet as it could be. The core destabilization is being caused by uneven extraction of rare minerals, Commander Zhang explained. The mining operations created cavities in very specific locations, which disrupted the planet's natural gravitational balance. Elena nodded. This was basic geology. Right. Once the balance is disrupted, the core begins to oscillate, which creates more disruption, which leads to cascading failure. Exactly. Now here's what we're going to do. The holographic display shifted, showing the human fleet's positions around the planet. Lines of energy began to connect the ships, creating a complex geometric pattern. First, we establish an artificial gravitational matrix around the planet. This stops the core oscillation and gives us time to work. That's what you've already done, isn't it? Elena stared at the display. The gravity anchors. You've created an artificial gravitational field that's stronger than the planet's natural gravity. Correct. Step 2 is where it gets interesting. The display shifted. Again. Now Elena could see the drill assemblies that were being deployed from the larger ships. But these weren't ordinary drills. They seemed to be phasing in and out of existence as they descended toward the planet's surface. Quantum matter manipulation, Commander Zhang explained casually. We're not actually drilling through the planet. We're convincing the planet's matter that there's already a hole there. Elena felt her understanding of physics bend slightly. That's how? Quantum uncertainty principle. At the subatomic level, matter doesn't actually exist in specific locations. It exists in probability clouds. We've just built machines that can adjust those probabilities. The holographic display showed the quantum drills reaching the planet's core. Instead of the chaotic, destabilizing mass that Elena expected to see, the core was becoming organized. We're not just stabilizing the core, Commander Zhang continued. We're upgrading it. New gravitational regulators, quantum stabilizers, self-repairing crystalline matrices. When we're done, this planet will be more geologically stable than Earth. Elena stared at the display for several minutes, trying to process what she was seeing. Commander, the energy requirements for something like this are why we built the Stellar Collection Array. Dr. Vasquez, humanity has been planning for scenarios like this for nearly a century. We knew that eventually we'd encounter a situation where the only way to save lives would be to perform engineering on a planetary scale. But why? Elena asked. Why build these capabilities? Why spend the resources? Why take the risk? Commander Zhang was quiet for a moment, looking up at the sky where her people's ships were performing their impossible work. Dr. Vasquez, let me tell you about the Belmont Colony incident. Elena had heard of Belmont Colony. Every xenogeologist had. It was one of the first joint human-alien colonies, established about 50 years ago. It had been destroyed in a natural disaster that killed nearly 1 million people. Belmont Colony was destroyed by a solar flare. Commander Zhang continued. A completely unpredictable event that sterilized the entire planet in less than 6 hours. The Galactic community held memorial services, established scholarships in the victims' names, and agreed that sometimes tragedy is unavoidable. She gestured toward the human fleet above them. Humanity disagreed. We spent the next 50 years developing technology specifically designed to prevent unavoidable tragedies. Solar flares? We built stellar regulators. Planetary core instability? We developed quantum matter manipulation. Asteroid impacts? We have ships that can move moons. Elena felt a chill run down her spine. You've been preparing for this, all of this, for decades. Dr. Vasquez, humanity has been preparing for everything. We looked at the universe and decided that we weren't going to let natural disasters kill people anymore. Not when we could build machines to prevent them. The holographic display updated, showing the current status of the planetary engineering project. The core stabilization was nearly complete, the gravitational matrix was holding steady, and the quantum drills were beginning their ascent back to the surface. How long until the planet is stable? Elena asked. The core stabilization will be complete in about 2 hours. Full planetary optimization will take another 12 hours. By tomorrow morning, Kepler 442b will be the most geologically stable planet in this sector of the galaxy. Elena looked around at the evacuation site where thousands of refugees were watching the sky with growing hope. Children from a dozen different species were pointing at the human ships, chattering excitedly in languages she didn't recognize. Commander, what happens now, after the planet is stabilized? Commander Zhang smiled. That's up to you and your people. We're not conquering this world, Dr. Vasquez. We're just making sure it doesn't fall apart. What you do with it after that is your decision. She paused, then added quietly, though if you'd like, we can show you how to build your own stellar collection array, just in case you ever need to prevent another unavoidable tragedy. As Elena watched the human fleet continue its impossible work, she realized that she was witnessing something unprecedented in galactic history. Not just the rescue of a planet, but the emergence of a species that had decided to wage war against the universe itself, and they were winning. Chapter 4. The New Galactic Order. 3 days later, Commander Zara Vel-Than stood in the observation deck of her ship, looking down at Kepler 442b. The planet that had been dying was now more beautiful than she had ever seen it. The toxic red oceans had cleared to a brilliant blue. The fractured continents had been seamlessly repaired. Even the atmospheric storms had been reorganized into patterns that actually improved the planet's weather systems. It shouldn't have been possible. But then again, she was learning that humans had a casual relationship with the word impossible. Commander, Lieutenant Kex approached, his forearms carrying multiple data pads. The final geological reports are in. The planetary stability index is, well, it's higher than Earth's. Zara nodded absently. She had been receiving reports for 3 days now, each one more incredible than the last. The humans hadn't just stabilized Kepler 442b, they had improved it. Mineral extraction could continue safely for the next 1,000 years. The core was now completely self-regulating. Even the planet's magnetic field had been enhanced to provide better protection from cosmic radiation. Any word from the Galactic Council? She asked. Kex's expression became carefully neutral. Ambassador Trilka requests permission to board. He says he needs to discuss the implications of recent events. Zara suppressed a sigh. The Galactic Council had been conspicuously absent during the crisis, but now that the impossible had been accomplished, they suddenly wanted to have conversations about implications. Send him up, she said. And Kex? Make sure Dr. Vasquez and Resonance of Truth are present. I want witnesses. 20 minutes later, Zara's conference room was filled with representatives from 6 different species. Ambassador Trilka, a tall, elegant being with purple skin and silver eyes, sat at the head of the table, reviewing a thick stack of official documents. Commander Velthan, the ambassador began, the Council has received detailed reports about the intervention performed by the Terran Defense Fleet. We need to discuss the legal and political ramifications. Dr. Elena Vasquez, who had been invited to represent the human scientific perspective, leaned forward. Ambassador, I'm not sure what ramifications you're referring to. The humans responded to a distress call and saved 50 million lives. Dr. Vasquez, Ambassador Trilka's voice carried the careful tone of someone choosing their words very carefully. The humans didn't just respond to a distress call. They deployed military-grade technology that was previously unknown to the galactic community. They demonstrated capabilities that rival those of Type II civilizations. This raises questions. Resonance of Truth, the crystalline diplomat from the Silicon Confederation, created a harmonic tone that translated as thoughtful concern. The Council is worried that humanity has been concealing the true scope of their technological advancement. Zara felt her patience beginning to fray. Are you seriously suggesting that we should be concerned about humans hiding their capabilities? They just saved an entire planet. With technology that could just as easily destroy planets, Ambassador Trilka pointed out. Commander, the quantum matter manipulation alone represents a threat to galactic stability. If humans can reorganize matter at the subatomic level, they could theoretically disassemble any world they choose. The conference room fell silent. Finally, Dr. Vasquez spoke up. Ambassador, with all due respect, you're missing the point. Humans could have demanded territorial concessions, trade agreements, political advantages in exchange for their help. Instead, they stabilized our planet and left. They didn't even ask for compensation. Which is precisely what concerns us, Ambassador Trilka replied. Species don't typically expend resources on that scale without expecting something in return. The Council needs to understand humanity's long-term objectives. Before anyone could respond, the conference room's communication system activated. Admiral Chen's calm voice filled the room. Forgive the interruption, but I couldn't help overhearing your conversation. Ambassador Trilka, you wanted to discuss humanity's long-term objectives? Ambassador Trilka straightened in his chair. Admiral Chen. Yes, the Council has some questions about your species' intentions regarding galactic politics. Our intentions are simple, Ambassador. We intend to prevent unnecessary deaths whenever possible. We intend to help civilizations that request assistance. And we intend to continue developing technology that makes the universe a safer place for everyone. Admiral, Resonance of Truth chimed in. The Council appreciates humanity's humanitarian instincts. However, the level of military capability you demonstrated raises concerns about galactic balance of power. There was a pause. When Admiral Chen spoke again, her voice carried a note of amusement. Resonance of Truth, let me ask you something. In the past century, how many planets has the Galactic Council saved from natural disasters? That's not really within the Council's mandate. The answer is 0, Admiral Chen continued. How many species has the Council helped develop defensive technology against stellar phenomena? The Council focuses on diplomacy and trade. 0 again. How many times has the Council intervened to prevent genocides, planetary destructions, or species-wide extinction events? The silence stretched uncomfortably long. Finally, Ambassador Trilka spoke. Admiral, the Council's role is to maintain stability through negotiation and consensus building. Ambassador, in the time it took your Council to form a committee to discuss Kepler 442b's crisis, we built, deployed, and executed a complete planetary engineering solution. 50 million people are alive today because humanity doesn't believe in letting bureaucracy kill people. Dr. Vasquez leaned forward. Admiral, the ambassador is concerned about humanity's military capabilities. Dr. Vasquez, humanity's military capabilities exist for one purpose: to make sure that when someone calls for help, we can actually provide it. We're not interested in conquering anyone. We're interested in making sure that natural disasters stop killing people." Admiral Chen paused, then continued in a more serious tone. "Ambassador Trilka, let me be very clear about humanity's position in galactic politics. We're not seeking to overthrow the Council or disrupt the existing order. We're simply offering an alternative approach to problem solving." "What kind of alternative?" Ambassador Trilka asked warily. "When someone sends out a distress call, they get an immediate response with overwhelming capabilities and no questions asked about payment, politics, or strategic value. When a natural disaster threatens a civilization, we show up and fix it. When the universe tries to kill people, we kill it back." Zara felt a chill run down her spine. The casual way Admiral Chen had said, "we kill it back," suggested that humanity had been thinking about the universe as an adversary for some time. "Admiral," she said slowly, "what exactly has humanity been building for the past century?" "Commander Velthan, we've been building the infrastructure necessary to wage war against entropy itself. Solar flares, asteroid impacts, planetary core, instabilities, stellar collapse, gamma-ray bursts. We've identified every natural phenomenon that can kill people, and we've developed countermeasures. And if those countermeasures require military-grade technology, then we build military-grade technology. Commander, humanity learned a long time ago that the universe is actively trying to kill everyone in it. We decided to take that personally." Ambassador. Trilka was reviewing his documents frantically. "Admiral, the Council needs assurances that humanity won't use these capabilities for aggressive purposes." Ambassador. "I can give you the same assurance I would give any other diplomatic entity. As long as you don't try to kill people, humanity has no interest in fighting you. Our weapons are designed to fight physics, not politics." The communication channel went quiet for a moment. Then Admiral Chen's voice returned, warmer now. "Commander Velthan, Dr. Vasquez, the Titan Forge is preparing to depart this system. The planetary stabilization is complete, and your world should remain geologically stable for several millennia. If you need any assistance with reconstruction or development, just send a message. We'll be in touch." As the communication ended, Ambassador Trilka stared at his documents with the expression of someone whose entire worldview had just been reorganized. "Resonance of truth," he said quietly. "I think we need to revise our assessment of humanity's role in galactic affairs." The crystalline diplomat created a harmonic that translated as nervous agreement. "Perhaps the question isn't whether humanity is a threat to galactic stability. Perhaps the question is whether we can afford not to have them as allies." Zara looked out the observation deck at the beautiful, impossible planet below. Somewhere out there, the human fleet was already moving toward their next impossible mission, carrying enough firepower to shatter moons and enough determination to steal planets from physics itself. The galaxy was about to become a much more interesting place. Epilogue: The New Standard. 6 months later. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was unprecedented in several ways. First, it was the largest gathering of species representatives in Council history. Over 200 civilizations were present either in person or via quantum communication link. Second, it was the first emergency session called not to address a crisis but to address the lack of crises. Ambassador Trilka stood at the central podium, addressing the assembled representatives. Behind him, a massive holographic display showed a map of the known galaxy, with hundreds of systems marked in bright green. "In the past 6 months," he began, "the Terran Defense Fleet has responded to 47 separate emergency situations across 17 sectors. Solar storms threatening the Vega colonies, neutralized. Asteroid impact threatening the Proxima settlements, prevented. Core instability on 3 separate worlds, resolved." He gestured to the holographic display where green markers were appearing faster than he could count them. "Every single intervention has been successful. Every single response has been immediate, and every single operation has been conducted without any request for compensation, territorial concessions, or political favors." A murmur ran through the assembled representatives. Ambassador Velka from the Centauri Republic raised a crystalline appendage. Ambassador Trilka, what is humanity requesting in return for these services? That's precisely the problem, Ambassador Velka. They're not requesting anything. The murmur became louder. Confusion, suspicion, and growing concern rippled through the chamber. 3 days ago, Trilka continued, the human fleet prevented a gamma-ray burst from sterilizing the entire Tau Ceti system. 40 billion lives saved. When the Tau Ceti government offered them exclusive mining rights to 3-star systems, the humans declined. When offered a permanent seat on our council, they declined. When offered military alliance treaties with 6 different species, they declined. Ambassador Resonance of Truth created a harmonic of deep confusion. Then what do they want? Trilka was quiet for a moment, then activated a new section of the holographic display. This one showed detailed records of human communications from the past 6 months. According to our analysis of their official communications, humanity wants exactly what they claim to want, for people to stop dying from preventable causes. That's impossible, declared Ambassador Kethmore from the Andromedan Empire. No species expends resources on that scale for purely altruistic reasons. There must be some hidden agenda. That's what we thought too, Trilka replied. So we conducted a comprehensive analysis of human behavior patterns, resource allocation, and strategic positioning. The holographic display shifted to show a complex web of data points, trade routes, and resource flows throughout human space. What we discovered is that humanity has been conducting the most sophisticated long-term strategy in galactic history. But it's not the strategy we expected. He paused, allowing the assembled representatives to study the data. Humans are terraforming the entire galaxy. The chamber erupted in shocked chatter. Several representatives demanded clarification simultaneously, their various languages creating a cacophony that the translation system struggled to process. Order, Trilka called. Let me explain. The holographic display zoomed in on specific sectors, showing detailed analysis of human activities. Every intervention, every rescue, every humanitarian mission has had the same result. The affected systems become more stable, more habitable, more conducive to life. The humans aren't just preventing disasters, they're systematically improving the galactic environment. Ambassador Velka leaned forward. Are you suggesting that humanity is attempting to control galactic development? I'm suggesting that humanity is attempting to optimize galactic development. Look at the data. The display showed system after system where human intervention had resulted in improved stellar stability, enhanced planetary defenses, upgraded civilization infrastructure. The solar storm prevention systems they installed in the Vega colonies. They're not just protecting Vega, they're creating a buffer zone that protects 12 other systems. The asteroid defense networks? They're linked across multiple sectors, creating a comprehensive protection grid. Resonance of Truth created a harmonic of dawning realization. They're building a galactic immune system. Exactly. Humanity has identified the galaxy itself as their patient. Every intervention is designed to make the entire galactic environment more stable, more predictable, more survivable. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Finally, Ambassador Kethmore spoke. What is humanity's ultimate objective? Trilka activated a final section of the display, showing projections based on current human activities, based on their current rate of intervention and technological development. We estimate that within 50 years, natural disasters will be effectively extinct in the explored galaxy. Stellar phenomena will be regulated, planetary instabilities will be prevented, even cosmic-scale events like gamma-ray bursts will be manageable. And then humanity will have accomplished something unprecedented in galactic history. They will have made the universe safe for life. The silence stretched for several minutes. Finally, a new voice spoke from the communication array. Admiral Sarah Chen, speaking from the bridge of the TNS Indomitable. Council members, I apologize for the interruption, but I thought you might appreciate some clarification on humanity's long-term objectives. Ambassador Trilka straightened. Admiral Chen, the Council would welcome any insights you can provide. Our objectives are simple. We want to live in a universe where children don't die from asteroid impacts, where civilizations don't get sterilized by solar flares, where species don't go extinct because their star decided to explode. Admiral Chen paused, then continued. We've been listening to your debate, and I understand your confusion. Most species develop caution over millions of years of evolution. You learn to avoid risks, to minimize exposure to danger, to accept that some tragedies are unavoidable. And humanity learned something different? Humanity learned that tragedy is only unavoidable if you don't have big enough guns. Another pause. When Admiral Chen spoke again, her voice carried a note of amusement. Council members, I have a question. For you. In your collective histories spanning millions of years and hundreds of civilizations, how many of you have ever attempted to solve a problem by punching physics in the face until it gave up? The silence was complete. That's what I thought. Humanity has been punching physics in the face for about 10,000 years now. We're getting pretty good at it. Ambassador Trilka cleared his throat. Admiral, the Council appreciates humanity's unique approach to problem solving. However, we need to understand the political implications of your activities. Ambassador, there are no political implications. We're not trying to build an empire. We're not trying to establish hegemony. We're trying to build a universe where the emergency session of the Galactic Council is called to discuss why there haven't been any emergencies. The holographic display updated one final time, showing real-time data from across the galaxy. System after system showed green status indicators, stable stellar activity, regulated planetary systems, protected trade routes. Council members, Admiral Chen continued. You're welcome to continue debating the political implications of our activities. But while you're debating, we're going to continue preventing disasters. If that makes you uncomfortable, I suggest you build bigger guns. The communication ended, leaving the council chamber in stunned silence. Finally, Ambassador Resonance of Truth created a harmonic that translated as thoughtful resignation. I believe we need to update our definition of galactic politics. Ambassador Trilka nodded slowly. I believe we need to update our definition of everything. As the emergency session continued into the night, one thing became clear. The galaxy had a new status quo. Natural disasters were now political problems. Physics was negotiable, and somewhere out there a species of determined primates was systematically teaching the universe better manners, and the universe was learning to behave. The end.